Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And a warm welcome to everyone wherever you are joining this session from. A happy New Year! This is our first OneDrive Office Hours session of the year, and as always, we look forward to having this meeting with all of you and learning from each other. I will just quickly go through a reminder of our digital event code of conduct. So at Microsoft, our goal is to empower each of you and foster a community where everyone feels respected and included. We don't tolerate any form of harassment or discrimination. So together, let's keep this place safe, engaging, and fun for everybody. All right. In terms of our agenda, today I'll cover the latest updates on our roadmap, and then I will hand it off to our guest speaker for today, Brad Gussin, who will take us through all things Microsoft 365 backup. And then, as usual, we'll open the floor for live Q&A. We also have a number of our product team members that are watching the meeting chat. So please feel free to ask a question in the chat, and one of our experts will help answer. With that, I'd like to share some exciting updates and upcoming features for OneDrive that we believe will significantly enhance user experience for all users. Let's start with the feature that we have recently shipped on the left-hand side of the slide here. First, we've shipped the OneDrive app experience on Microsoft365.com or Office.com, which does give you an integrated experience for managing your files. Next, we've fully rolled out offline mode in OneDrive, allowing you to access your files even without an internet connection and with super highly performant experience as well. Additionally, I'm also very excited to announce that we have implemented expiration for all link types, giving users more control over their shared content. I know this was something that a lot of our audience members have been asking for a while. Now let's move on to the upcoming features in the next 3 months. That's the middle column on the slide here. We're soon going to introduce agents in OneDrive, which will help automate tasks and improve productivity. We're also very excited to bring a Copilot Q&A on images, the multimodal capabilities, and meeting recordings, enabling you to get quick answers and insights from your content. Furthermore, you'll also be able to convert Copilot responses into Word files and create presentations from Word files using Copilot. Lastly, we're also adding the ability to request more access directly from the file viewer. You may recall last year we had a revamp, complete new experience in the file viewer. Now we're also adding the ability to request more access directly from the file viewer. It also simplifies the process of managing file permissions. And then looking ahead into the next 6 months, that is the column on the right side of the slide, we are we have some more exciting features in store for you all. You'll be able to use Copilot commands from OneDrive in all of document libraries. So if you've tried out and tested Copilot in OneDrive, a lot of similar capabilities are coming very soon to document libraries. Will make it easier for you to manage your files across different locations. We're also expanding offline mode to include recent document libraries and shortcut folders. Again, with the intention to keep the experience consistent across both OneDrive and SharePoint or document libraries. To have from offline mode, you'll have fast access to all of your important files that are in document libraries as well. We're also we announced a lot of improvements in our OneDrive web search, and then we're further improving that OneDrive web search suggestions and filters with more relevant capabilities, like introducing people-centric file search on OneDrive web. In general, we believe that these updates and upcoming features are designed to enhance your productivity and making sure that you have instant access to your relevant files that when you need them. It also helps you streamline your workflows with all the capabilities that we talked about on Copilot, or have been and in general provide a more intuitive and efficient experience with OneDrive. And as always, we look forward to your feedback on how we can enhance the experience of working with files for our users. So please keep that unfiltered feedback coming. This helps us stay grounded and improve experience for all customers. With that, I will transition over and pass the control over to Brad Gussin. Brad, over to you.
Thank you, Irfan. Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, great. My name is Brad Gussin. I'm a product lead on the OneDrive and SharePoint storage team, also the product lead for Microsoft 365 Backup and Microsoft 360 Archive, if you've heard of that, plus some version trimming enhancements that we've GA'd recently as well, so everything sort of OneDrive SharePoint storage. Really excited to talk to you all today about some recently GA'd products, including Microsoft 365 Backup and the underlying platform, the backup storage platform that supports it. So I'm going to walk through the scenarios and what these solutions solve for you, and then also talk a little bit about our roadmap, what we're releasing in the coming semesters, and some pointers on how to adopt the product. So you might ask yourself, why do I need to start thinking about these solutions now? Well, Microsoft 365 data is growing at an incredible rate. This isn't only driven by user-generated content, but also now, of course, content generated by AI on behalf of end users. And as always, due to customers migrating more and more content into Microsoft 365 to take advantage of our great collaboration, security, compliance, and now AI offerings as well. To put that growth into context, we see more than 2 billion new files added to Microsoft 365 every single day. And so with all of that data growth, companies need a robust recovery and data lifecycle management solution, especially for backup and restore. So let me get into talking about the product itself. Microsoft 365 Backup helps bolster your cyber resilience and data management operations. In other words, the product keeps your business running with fast and reliable backup and restore. Let's take a look at why this matters. There's a rise in ransomware attacks, security breaches, and deletions, meaning that organizations are making cybersecurity a priority to safeguard themselves from the impact of those events. Click's not working. Cool. So while there are products on the market that attempt to solve these problems, there remain challenges with handling these scenarios with such large amounts of data that we just talked about, the 2 billion files, the many tenants growing at more than a petabyte a month, and all of that data creates challenges. So exporting and importing that large amount of content for backup and restore operations is becoming less efficient. And given that the large size of tenants, complex orchestration, it's simply impractical in many cases to rely on an export or import solution alone to solve these kinds of problems at any real scale or at any appropriate speed. You have to think about at the end of the day, what you really need is business continuity assurance. You don't need a backup. You need assurance of your business continuity. You need to ask yourself, after an attack, how fast can your business get back up and running? So, to summarize that or put it succinctly, you're not buying backup, you're buying the ability to restore. And really the question is, how quickly can you get your business back up and running? And so that's where Microsoft 365 Backup comes in. It ensures you can restore data from SharePoint, OneDrive, and Exchange Online fast to add resiliency against cyber attacks. Also, it's very flexible and easy to manage on your own terms. So those are sort of the core 3 pillars of the backup solution that we're providing. So with our purpose-built architecture that keeps geographically redundant and immutable copies of your data, Microsoft 365 Backup is your path to fast recovery. It has recovery points of just 10 minutes, meaning you can go back to any 10-minute period in the past. And we also provide some recommended express restore points for OneDrive and SharePoint that help you achieve especially fast recovery at certain periodic times throughout the days. I'm sorry. With the backup solution, you can back up and really, more importantly, restore your content in hours compared to weeks, months, or even years for traditional solutions. So as an example, you can restore 1,000 normally distributed OneDrive accounts or SharePoint sites or Exchange mailboxes, or a mix of any of those at a rate of up to 1 to 3 terabytes an hour. And that's up to 20 times faster than is previously possible with traditional migration-based solutions. So that's a pretty big deal. You can imagine if your tenant has been encrypted or is under attack or something like that, this 20x performance increase in being able to get your business back up and running on the order of hours versus weeks is pretty critical. Additionally, because of the way we've architected this and because the Microsoft 365 backup data stays within your tenant boundary, it'll automatically honor your geographic residency requirements. So for example, if you've mandated that your data must remain in your home country or in a certain sovereign region, then the backups will remain there too without any additional configuration or auditing required. Another benefit is that the backup tool, limits what an application can see and what it can do with your information. So it retains very strict data access in the backups to only the backup operations and the restore operations. So that boosts your security posture and also limits potential attack vectors that might be possible when you're moving data to other locations. And adding to that security benefit too, all actions taken in the tool are fully auditable. And again, because it's immutable, the backups cannot be modified. You can offboard from the tool, but you can't encrypt or ransom the actual backups themselves. So let's take a look at the power of the backup platform using our first-party application as an example, keeping in mind that we also have offerings through some third-party applications as well on top of the same platform. But this video is of our native offering that can give you some clues into how the platform works. So in this demo, I'm an IT admin creating a backup policy to protect more than 1,000 sites. You can see here we're selecting, you can do it by CSV is the most expedient method. In this case, we're backing up 215 terabytes. The backup policy is enabled, you can see here, and I'm protected within a matter of hours. Now later I might discover that a large number of the policy protected sites were encrypted due to a malware attack, and I need to kick off a bulk restore fast. So here I'm uploading with a few simple clicks all of the sites that need to be restored. And then I can monitor the restore progress. And here in only 8 hours, all 215 terabytes in those 1,000 sites were restored. Pretty quick turnaround there, so it's great. I'm seeing in the chat, I don't know if people are having trouble seeing the screen, but hopefully it's coming through. I see a hand up, please.
Hey, this is Nikolai from Coca-Cola. Nice feature, Brad. So my question is, because we've seen backup, because we're aiming to use maybe the archiving solution and whatnot, but we've seen the backup, we had some briefs on it. And my main question is, so is backup centered, the primary benefit of the M365 backup is security, right? Like cybersecurity, like events that you described. Being either malware or ransomware or whatever that is. But I see some features here, and I would like to get a clarification, like how is backup different? I mean, for OneDrive context, is there any other usability besides the cybersecurity? Like I would say for OneDrive, you can retain data with retention policies. You can restore or archive data with the M365 archive. How is that different than them in terms of utilization outside of that cybersecurity spectrum?
It's a good question. I think the main focus of this product is admin level at scale point in time recovery. And so any case where you need to bring your tenant or a large number of files or content or email back to a healthy prior point in time, maybe because of we've seen cases where someone's running a migration script that accidentally overwrites a whole bunch of content, or some other kind of script they've written, or they accidentally deleted content too early and they need to get it back. Anything that sort of requires at scale recovery orchestration, including cybersecurity, but also malicious accidental user admin script application issues. That's where this comes in handy.
Oh, and how does that work with the M365 archive data that's already archived? So can you back up that data? Is it considered in a different pool?
You can absolutely, yeah. You can back up that archive data. You can also back up Exchange Online mailbox archives as well. They're actually natively included there as well. So those two things are sort of orthogonal. The archive in SharePoint and OneDrive is really about lower cost storage and sort of removing it from polluting the Copilot index. And so they intermingle just fine, and they sort of accomplish different goals. So they're orthogonal in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
I see one more hand up, although I don't know if I should get through the rest of the slides here, Irfan. What's?
I think it's best if you could just go through and then we can take questions, if that's okay with everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Come on. I'll come back to you, but yeah, thank you. Okay, so what I just demoed a few minutes ago was how our first-party offering works, but I wanted to point out too, this is all built on top of what we call the Microsoft 365 Backup Storage Platform. And so the actual platform that's powering the backup and restore, we have surfaced through Graph APIs to partners, ISVs, who can integrate this solution with their application. And we have a handful of great providers that are offering pretty innovative applications. Those ISVs have been able to deliver, again, the same great performance as our native offering, because they're leveraging the same underlying platform with a copy of your data within the M365 trust boundary. But they also provide some additional intelligence, additional features, bespoke UI, and a consolidated experience for your Microsoft 365 and non-Microsoft 365 data estates alike, all in one place. I saw a comment in the chat about whether we do granular restore of files. We don't do granular file restore yet. It will be coming in the next semester or two, but a lot of these vendors that we partnered with have a slew of features that we haven't gotten to yet with our 1P offering, and you can adopt their solution to get really what we call the best of both worlds. It's one of the reasons that we partnered with them, is so that you can get that whole slew list of great features that have been built and matured over the last decade in this industry, and then also add on our speed, resilient security on top of that. And it's really, I think it's a great better together story here, because instead of asking, should I get this but give up that, you can now say, oh, I want everything and I'm really in a great solution. And so that's why we've partnered with ISVs. And you can always find an up-to-date list of who our preferred backup storage partner solutions are by going to this link, aka.ms M365 Backup Storage /partners. That includes, for example, Veeam is a really, really strong partner. We're seeing great adoption from them. At Ignite, we did a highlighting of a case study where they had adopted a very large customer. ServiceNow had adopted them, a Veeam solution, to again get that best of breed, both worlds solution. And there's a handful of other partners also listed on that partners page too. So please do take a look there. Here's a quick look at our 1P roadmap, and of course, it'll be coming through the APIs too. So everything we do for our native application is serviced through the APIs so that our third-party partners can take advantage of it as well. So we're going to have some improved admin functionality to make maintaining the tool a little bit easier, maintaining what's protected a little easier. We're going to have, again, granular file restore, permission-only restore, Teams chats restore, Enter ID restore forthcoming in the future as well. and then some enhanced management listed out in the bottom there. Okay, and finally, here's where you can go to check out all these solutions. So the main page to remember here is aka.ms/m365backup. That'll show you how to onboard to the tool if you're interested. You basically go to the M365 Admin Center. You set up M365 pay-as-you-go billing, formerly known as Syntex billing, through Azure, and then you can enable the backup tool and set up policies just like showed in the demo before. That was all I had. So yeah, I can take some questions from hands, and then I can go through the chat as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad. We do see a couple of hands up. Nikolai, go ahead.
Hey, it's me again. Sorry.
Right.
It's about a real quick question because we're using Archive. Is the billing going to be similar? Because you mentioned that you're introducing the granular file and folder level restore and the backup around mid this year, and it's apparently the same as the archiving granular file and folder restore. And in archiving, it's going to be on a file and folder level restore. It's not considered as billing. I mean, it's not billed in the same way that a site rehydration will be billed. What Microsoft said is that it's going to be self-service and it's going to be free, more or less, for user level restoration. Is that going to be similar with the backup, or is it the billing going to be different?
Yeah, so backup and archive are quite a bit different. There's actually no charge for any backup restore ever at any level. If you're under attack and you bought our tool to get back to a healthy state, that's what we want you to be able to do. There's no limitation there in terms of restoring from the backups. There's some abuse cases which I won't note here, but like in general, there's no restore limitations for backups. We want you to get back to a healthy point in time.
Is the file so? Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be entirely administrative control. There's no self-service at any point in the product anywhere, I believe, due to architecture and its purpose.
Yeah, correct. Today it is an admin-focused tool. We're considering additional role-based access control options here. Also, some of our third-party vendors, partners here, do have more intricate RBAC controls, and so if that's needed by you, you guys should go take a look at some of those partners. Against one of the reasons that we did partner with them. The key thing to remember here, though, my main pitch, if you take away just one thing from any of this, it's that if you rely only on the partner's export-import-based solution, you could have trouble getting back to a healthy point when you need it most. It's insurance that you're buying and that recovery assurance that you need. So that's the key thing to point out. But yeah, some of these partners have some great RBAC controls as well.
Great. Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, come on it.
Yeah, thanks. I like this feature, basically backup. I would like to know that how the licensing works here actually. It's a storage-wise or number of mailboxes, or how exactly works?
Yeah, great question. So this falls into our pay-as-you-go family of products in Microsoft 365. And so we charge per gigabyte of protected content. But this is user-facing content. So it's not the number of restore points that we have do not impact the storage costs. So the fact that we have 10-minute restore points doesn't mean you're getting charged however many 10-minute periods in a day are times the size of the storage. So if you back up a 1 gig site, we'll charge you for 1 gigabyte of backup usage. And then if you delete half of the content, we keep it for a year for the backup period. And so even though the site has decreased from 1 gig to a half a gig, we're still holding on to a gig of data in the backup. And so that would continue to be charged at 1 gig for the full year until it drops off. And it is because it's a pay-as-you-go service, you are not locked into any licenses. You can back up only as much as you want, and we only charge you for that. And then if you wanted to offboard from the service for whatever reason, you can do so, and we stop charging you within 30 days. Basically, we have a grace period for offboarding. And so that's why it's very flexible. It's pay as you go. You're not locked in. You're not overpaying for anything. You're not actually backing up.
Is there any limitation for the minimum this kind of
Nope.
a terabytes we need to enable, or just from the 1 terabyte we can start this one?
No, I have a test tenant with my own credit card, and I'm backing up exactly 1 penny of content right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah, Vijay.
Hey, Brad, just wondering like how far the backup can go. I mean, like how, like till what date we can retain the data from?
Yeah, a good question. So when you enable backup, we hold on to you have restore points starting from the time that you turn it on, and we retain those restore points for 52 weeks. So in other words, if I adopt the tool, then in 53 weeks from now, I can go back up to what would essentially be next week at this point. And we are looking into both shorter and longer retention. So variable retention will be coming out hopefully by the end of this calendar year. And so you should be able to say, hey, I want to hold on to these backups for, I don't know if you wanted to 10 years or something. Generally, our focus has been shorter term because this is about recovery from attacks. And usually you don't realize you had an attack 2 years down the road. But I do know that there are cases, compliance reasons that people want to hold on to those restore points for much longer. And so we will be supporting that by the end of the year.
Okay, so for now it's 52 weeks.
52 weeks, yeah. JC?
Hi, Brad, this is Jay. My main question is mainly towards SharePoint Online, where we keep, for example, multiple version control for a single files or documents. Is it any different in terms of cost for that, or doesn't matter how many versions you keep?
So the way that we calculate the backup storage is we look at the size of your site or OneDrive. So like, again, if you have a 1 gig site, then we'll charge you for 1 gig of content. And of course, that 1 gig, if you go into your SharePoint site storage management page, versions do count towards your storage. And so if you wanted to trim your versions, we have a version trimming feature, which I mentioned at the start. You can go and thin out some of your older versions. So if you wanted to keep fewer versions going further back in time, we have a cool feature that will basically retain fewer and fewer intermittent versions the further back in time you go. So it allows you to keep that restorability with the versions, but also thin them out so that you have less of a storage impact. So you could choose to thin some of those out and then adopt the backup tool if you have some storage cost concerns there. But yes, because the versions count towards the SharePoint site size, and because the SharePoint site size is what determines the backup storage cost, then the answer to your question is yes. But again, we have some workarounds there if you're interested.
Clear. Thanks, Brad.
I'm going to just take some questions from the chat real quick. I think we already addressed, Ashley, your question. No file level restore quite yet, but it is coming. And I don't know, you said you wouldn't want to restore 2 terabytes site just for a few megabytes of files, but we do allow you to restore to a new URL. So you could restore to a new URL, you can cherry pick the files out, and then you can delete that site. You don't have to enroll that site in the backup. So you can restore it temporarily, get the stuff you want out of it, and delete it. Again, there's no charge for restoring the site in case that was one of the reasons. How do you handle data from deleted users in M365 backup? We keep the data in the back. Once the data is in the backup, it stays there for the 52-week period. So if a user is deleted, it's still there. You can still recover it. I'll say the workflow to recover the backups for a deleted user in Exchange Online is a little bit tricky today because they have this inactive mailbox workflow. We are working on enhancing that though, but if you catch it in the first 30 days and you recover your enter ID while it's still in that soft delete period, it makes restoring a lot easier. And again, we're going to make the workflow better, but it is possible today that once the data is in the backup, it's in the backup. For the partners, are they all using M365 backup APIs and storage? Of the ones that we've listed in our partner page, all those partners have a solution built on top of the backup storage platform, yes. Do all backup providers in the universe use this? Not yet. We'll get there someday.
Thanks, Brad. I think just to clarify on that, I was mainly it was that I see that you have all these partners listed, and it was more or less being, like, are they all using the same underlying technology? If they use it, if you've partnered with them, that means that ultimately they're using the Microsoft storage, and then they've just built a product on top of it.
Correct, for that portion of their tool, but a lot of them, I would say actually all of them are offering their traditional solution packaged with this solution, and what that does is it allows them to maintain all of those other features they have.
Got it.
While adding this as an additional benefit. So yes, both, I would say.
Okay.
I'm sorry. There was also a hand up before, and I lost who that was, but if you want to raise your hand again, I can jump back to you, and then I'll get back to the chat.
Probably, and there might be some more questions in the chat, so we can, at this point, Thank you, Brad. What we'll do is we'll transition over to just general Q&A, and that gives you an opportunity to go through and skim through the chat as well, and see if there are any questions that are left. So I appreciate it. Sure. All right. If there are folks who have other general questions for the rest of the product team as well, please feel free to raise your hand, and then we'll take as we see them show up.
Hi, yeah, I have a question unrelated to the backup. I've been having an issue recently with users creating shortcuts to SharePoint sites via their OneDrive client, and the sites that they're shortcutting have extremely long file path names, and it's causing an error loop with the client where they get the error, pops up, it crashes the client, they restart, and it goes on and on and on, even if they remove the shortcut. This came up probably sometime last year as well, and I'm just wondering if there's any plans to make that error more actionable so that the OneDrive client crashing loop doesn't continue.
Yeah, I can take that one. Yes, we have work planned to improve the experience with max path, so files that are too long or folders, including in the shortcut case. But I'd love to connect if you're open to sharing more about the scenario, just to make sure that the work we have planned will be covered in the specific scenario your users are hitting.
Certainly.
Yeah, so if you want to just reach out by email, I'll connect you to the right folks.
Just on that point, I remember discussing the long paths before as an issue. We also have a big issue in our tenant because of that in our partners. One thing that we discussed was the maximum, the registry setting on the Windows machines that allows the enable long paths, which is called the max path registry limitation. Are you aware if this works as a workaround to this right now? I know it only addresses the Windows limitation, which is only an aspect of the file length issues. But do you know if there's any positive feedback from customers? Because we're thinking of it, testing and applying that. But since you're working on a solution, I'm not sure how we should go forward.
Yeah, so I should say the solution I was talking about is just how we handle the max path in certain cases where we pop an error that was referred to earlier. That setting is helpful, so definitely recommend taking a look at it. But there's a lot of nuances in terms of the max path limitations. And so I'd love, again, to connect to better understand what types of issues you're running into, and we can help you from there.
Okay. Sure. Should I get your email address in here somewhere? I'll shoot you an email.
Yeah, the question regarding agents, actually, we have SharePoint agents now and OneDrive agents, actually. I think Copilot license user can create those agents. How about, I think it works for the non-Copilot license also users? And how is the licensing works? Is it a different model or how it can be calculated?
Yeah, I can take that. It's a great question. So you just need the Microsoft 365 Copilot license for both Copilot in SharePoint, which is agents, as well as Copilot in OneDrive. You need the license to be able to create as well as use Copilot agents. So if you've created the agent and then you've shared it, people that you've shared it with will also need the Copilot license to be able to use it. Hope I was able to clarify that.
Okay, you mean to say that if the Copilot license user created the particular agent and the non-Copilot license user cannot see that agent, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Chris, you're next.
Yeah, my question's a little more general. I'm wondering if you have a recommendation on resources or where to get started with. We recently did a migration from personal network shares to OneDrive, and we want to do the same thing with department shares. And we were using drive letter mappings and whatnot. And we know how to transfer the data. We've got a third-party tool that does that for us successfully, but I'm worried about the user experience, and I'd like to get some general hints or guidelines or whatever on how to manage that so that the users have a good experience in transferring where their data is stored.
So specifically around migration of data into SharePoint document library?
Yeah, it would either be SharePoint or into Teams, which it's SharePoint. It's all SharePoint. OneDrive too. I know. So yeah, the data would either go to a team that's for that department or to a SharePoint site that's for that department. Obviously, it's a different process because each one is its own special use case. OneDrive is one person to one person, and it's really easy. And with departments, it's squishy. But leaving that aside, just from the user experience of they log onto their computer and they want to be able to access their shared documents in a way similar to what they used to. Do you have guidance or websites or anything from Microsoft that would help us smooth that transition?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we have documentation on best ways to transfer our content to SharePoint. What I'll do is, if you could just message me afterwards, I will put together some content that we already have and then share it with you offline.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah. PJ?
Hey, hi. I have a question regarding the OneDrive sync. So in our organizations, we perform like all of our migrations from Box to OneDrive. And these users have like TBs of data and files which are more than 500K items, right? But these users do not want them or do not want to sync those folders to the desktop. But the issue what I have is whenever I go to the OneDrive client and when I try to pause the sync, it doesn't allow me to because it wants a sync to complete before before I uncheck the folder from the OneDrive setting. So is there a way we could stop the sync from OneDrive like web client before it before it syncs completely to my desktop and then I go back and uncheck that folder to remove it from my PC?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, that's addressing that is on our backlog. It's something we've heard feedback on. I don't have a timeline to share at this time, but it's something we know we want to address is being able to uncheck certain folders before sync completes.
Yeah, I mean, because that's really a pain for us because it syncs like more than, I would say, 1 million items, and then I uncheck it, then it resyncs it, right? Removes it from my PC, so it takes forever. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, thanks for sharing the feedback.
Thank you.
Rename function properly not working on when a particular PPT mention as a set as a pin. properly is not working, particular function. It's a designer issue from SharePoint. Hello?
Sorry, was that a question?
In any designer issue with the rename function? Properly is not working rename function.
In Microsoft Designer?
Yeah. In SharePoint only. Suppose we are selecting one file as a set as a pin. After that, we can try to change the rename. Its function is not working. When you click on cancel also, it's open the file.
Okay. It would be good to see if there's any, like, have you opened a case with Microsoft support?
Yeah, already
Okay.
I'm open 1 month, 1.5 month back.
Oh, wow. Okay. That shouldn't take that long. So if you could share the case number
ID?
with me offline.
Yeah.
Yes.
1 minute.
That will help. Just ping it to me, and then I can help follow up as well. Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions here?
Just typing in chart case ID. Okay.
Right. Thank you. All right. Well, we're here for any other questions you might have. Please feel to raise your hand. Happy to answer as well. All right, Obi?
Yes, I saw on the slide you were showing with the features that's coming in the next 6 months. It was forms on document libraries. Is it like the forms feature on Microsoft Lists that's already available?
I believe that's correct. Do we have somebody from the web PM team who can help confirm that?
I believe that that's correct. Thanks for asking the question.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
That's a very good feature with the Microsoft Lists already. So I would love to have it with the document libraries as well.
We would do. Thank you so much for the feedback.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tom, you're next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
My, I guess, feedback really is if there is any progress on ways to make the shortcuts from document libraries stand out more and not be a mess with my files, but be more like company files or something like that. And also if it would be possible to consider having ways to use cloud policy or similar to pre-configure sync of those for end users. If that made sense.
Yeah, so I know on the first your first question, having a way to sort of identify shortcuts or differentiate.
Make them stand out. So the benefit with the old sync method, it had a lot of problems. So I love shortcuts, but the great part of the old solution was that when you use the sync feature, everything from the shared libraries came up in a separate company node in File Explorer. So it was very simple to direct users to look here are shared files, and look here are your files. And end users resonated with that. But now when a user selects a document library or folder and they click add shortcut, the file just goes into this mess called my files, which doesn't really make sense from a user adoption perspective. It makes sense to a younger generation, but it doesn't make sense to an older generation, because now it's suddenly have problems with, but if I'm trying to clean up, will I delete all the company files? So people get nervous, and it's basically a mess, and also all kinds of applications like to spit out all kinds of weird themes. In particular, creates like 5 or 6 folders in the root of my files, so it just becomes a mess. So I was hoping that add shortcut to OneDrive, especially now that my files is a section within OneDrive. It would be great if we had OneDrive/company files and OneDrive/my files, and all the shortcuts went into company files, because that's essentially pretty much what they are most of the time. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It aligns with a lot of the feedback we've heard from a lot of you and other customers we've talked to. And so we have some work in progress that will help. We don't have it to share yet. We're working on it. But in the coming months, we'll be able to have one of these sessions where we'll present more about the improvements with the shortcut experience. So stay tuned.
I'm really looking forward to that. And also hoping for more cloud policy controls for the OneDrive clients, for Intune-based clients, for example, since we don't want to use group policy. And also in terms of being able to turn features on or off, for example. If you don't want to use agents in a site that was mentioned previously, it would be great if we had a cloud policy to turn things like that on or off.
Got it.
But being able to manage service and client using cloud policy, everything you put into cloud policy is a good.
Yeah, and this is the cloud policy that Office uses as well, correct?
Yeah.
So separate from Intune.
Yes, but basically, if you have computers using bring your own devices and everything, they are covered by the cloud policy, but they're not necessarily covered by the group policy
Makes
or
sense.
Intune policies.
Yep. Yeah, we've had some discussions. It's not currently on our roadmap, but yeah, thanks. I've heard it several times, and so it's good for us to follow up. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good feedback. Thank you. All right. We have Daniela.
Hi, I have a question, and apologies if it's a little bit off topic, but I think this was discussed probably or mentioned once a year ago or so forth on this type of calls, and it's the removal of the sync option from the libraries. If that's still on the roadmap, if it's going to happen, because we are trying to teach the users, and we're successful in adding shortcuts to OneDrive. There is a big discussion about stop using File Explorer and all of that. That's never going to work. We have 4,000 users. That's a no-go. So we teach them to create a shortcut to their OneDrive, which then keeps them happy using the files as they used to, especially for the stuff that is moving away from servers. But the big bugbear is the sync option, because it's a very dangerous option, as we know. If somebody deletes the library that was synced from File Explorer, it removes all the data from the source. If they remove the shortcut that they have in their OneDrive, nothing happens. It's just the shortcut disappears. And I think that there was a discussion that may disappear at some point and be available only to push via Intune to sync the libraries for administrators, because we see users still, going and syncing the libraries, which is causing them issues. And, often you don't find out that somebody deleted something accidentally until it's too late.
Yeah, so eventually we are still planning to remove the sync button. But as I mentioned, the focus right now is just improving the Add to OneDrive experience, because as we've talked about it in the past and we got a lot of feedback, and so we're focused on addressing that feedback. In the meantime, as mentioned in the chat, you can disable the button for any new. So anyone who had already clicked the sync button will continue to work. It won't break them, but new people wouldn't be able to click the sync button. And there's a PowerShell commandlet for that. Are you already familiar with that?
No, but this, I guess, would have to be done per site rather than.
It's at the tenant level.
Is it a tenant level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We still can. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I can paste the information in the chat.
That would be great. So, and we can carry on pushing the sync from Intune for specific libraries that we want to, because we are syncing the templates, for example, as well. If people have custom templates, you can sync libraries and then force them or match them to Word
with the group
or
policy,
PowerPoint with Intune configuration profile.
Yeah, I believe that should work, because the PowerShell commandlet is only hiding the button for end users. But would be obviously good to test to make sure.
Okay, lovely. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll put in the commandlet in the chat.
Great, thank you.
That's to OneDrive. Do you have any plans on kind of organizing it? We're an engineering firm, and our engineers like to name things quite lengthy, but some often do end up with the same name. So when they do the shortcut, you look at your OneDrive, you might have a shortcut that's called Project A, and then another shortcut with the same name. So until you go into it, you don't know where, when they sync it, you get it structured as our company name. Within that, it says the site name along with whatever folder level they have synced. So it's better organized. So that's why we've preferred syncing over the shortcut. But then we prefer shortcuts because then it saves to their account. So when they get a new computer, they log into OneDrive, you have all your shortcuts, which you don't with Sync. You have to go through and redo that.
I think if this question is similar to the one that we previously got in terms of like how we differentiate between a shortcut versus not a shortcut.
For us, it's easy to tell because you get the little icon on the folder that shows that's a shortcut. So that makes sense. But then with shortcuts, you're only seeing that folder's name.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at your OneDrive, if you've synced a shortcut from one project that say is called client, and then you go to another site, sync a shortcut for the same folder called client, when you look at your OneDrive, you just have client. It's not very
right.
clear, and then their OneDrive kind of just gets to be a cluster where if they had it kind of structured where if you select your OneDrive in File Explorer, you see your folders and then shortcuts as like their own thing. Maybe people probably have different feedback on how they'd structure it, but that's just how I think instead of kind of throwing it into your own structure, have the shortcut structured as their own and maybe show more details. So like the site name it came from along with the folder, something like that.
Yeah, that's good feedback. We've definitely heard a lot of different feedback and different perspectives on the naming. As called out in the chat, users can rename shortcuts, but obviously that's a manual step. I'm curious if we had a way to just always show the site name as well in the shortcut name. Would that be helpful?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
If that was a setting that either we did in the admin center, whether it's a 365, because I know things are kind of different. It's some stuff for like OneDrive and that you have settings in 365 admin center, some settings are in the SharePoint admin center. So I'm not sure which would be most applicable, but yeah, if that's a setting that we could toggle on where it's say show site name in shortcuts, stuff like that. If we were able to toggle it on, the only other preference I guess we would have is being able to essentially separate those shortcuts. So still have it in their OneDrive, but have it be whether you're in the OneDrive GUI, like you're looking at it in Outlook or Teams, it has like a section below your files where it's got all your shortcuts, and then in File Explorer, kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing the feedback.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, we got a couple more hands up. Amar?
Hey, good afternoon. Is there going to be a possible enhancement or change to how Microsoft 365 Copilot and OneDrive integration works? Or is it going to continue to be hooked into SharePoint agents in the Microsoft 365 Copilot license? Right now, we have a limitation on rolling out agents just based on permissions and license implications. So we're in the process of removing that SharePoint agents functionality from our license, but it also impacts Copilot and OneDrive usability.
Interesting. Thank you for that feedback. What specific reservations are you finding around permissions for SharePoint agents? Curious to understand.
Yeah, so we're still going through the details with the rest of our engineers. So licensed users obviously are supposed to have access to create agents, and unlicensed users on a SharePoint site have access to that agent and the data that they have permission to. But in terms of share functionality, when somebody decides to share an agent, we're still trying to wrap our hands around what implications that has with the agent, and if the user or the owner of that agent is removed from a SharePoint site, what implications does that have on the usability of the agent and the support of that agent? So we have a lot of questions on that support from a compliance perspective. So that's where we're at. So we're in the process of testing all of that. So we had to disable agents in the interim until we see how that plays out.
That's good feedback. This is the second feedback I've heard on this call around decoupling SharePoint agents and just Copilot and OneDrive in general. That's good feedback. I know like right now, it looks like there's just one toggle and it disables agents as well as Copilot and OneDrive.
Yeah.
I think we will benefit from decoupling that. Let me take that feedback back to the team, and I should have an update on this.
Yeah, and from a function perspective, I have clients in our legal department who are not really aware of SharePoint agents, but they are aware of the OneDrive functionality, and they use it quite a bit to summarize and compare documentation that's legal and contract in nature, so super beneficial there. And now they may be without that feature because of this other feature that's coupled, and they're going to have a slight break to their business process. So we have to introduce a workaround for them.
Right.
Thank you.
Feedback. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Tony, do you still have a question? We'll just take one last one for today.
Yeah, last question. Yeah, make it quick. I have the exact same concern that was mentioned earlier around the SharePoint and OneDrive. Honestly, across the board, there needs to be a complete segregation of the settings of OneDrive and SharePoint, even from a licensing perspective. That's been killing us forever, that SharePoint equal OneDrive. Like I need a OneDrive admin, but not a SharePoint admin. I have to go finagle things, or I need to manage the license of Copilot and agents. That agents got bestowed upon us this week, and we're scrambling to turn it off, and we broke OneDrive in the process. We have the exact same issue. We're not ready for it from an organization standpoint. You can't just turn on, forget about it on this particular feature. So please take quick steps to fix that one, because we hurt our users there too. My other comment was longer, and we could take it offline, but it was more around using a OneDrive around a like a Dropbox type of situation. We do not allow external sharing in our environment at all. It'll be a very controlled environment once we do turn it on, but I really need a quick and easy and intuitive way to simply use a OneDrive/SharePoint type thing for people to be able to do file transfers one-off externally. That isn't a massive uplift to set up a file transfer system between two companies, that sort of thing. Simply because we don't allow you to just share things directly out of OneDrive. So don't have any great answers there. Everything in Microsoft world is all like, well, you can kind of use your OneDrive if you want, but I need a segregated thing that then only has access to 5 people or something, and it lives for 30 days at most, and people can get the file, confirm they got it, delete it, that sort of thing. So
that's great feedback. Thank you, Tony, for doing that. We might have one of our team members reach out to you directly as well to just understand the use case a little bit.
That's we're always willing to meet with you guys. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We will meet with you at length on a regular basis if you like, if anyone at Microsoft knows me. So
thank you so much. We are at time. Just wanted to call out 2 things. We have the Microsoft MVP Summit coming up March 25th to 27th. If you're an MVP, we would love for you to register and attend, and we're looking forward to you joining us in learning more together. That's one. And then we also have the M365, Microsoft M365 Community Conference coming up. That is going to be May 6th through 8th, 2025 in Las Vegas. We want all of you to attend. So calling it out early so that you have enough time to reach out to your teams and book your travel and register for the event. We would love to hear and meet with all of you in person there in Las Vegas as well. We'll share details around how to register for both these conferences, but just wanted to highlight here live as well. Thank you, Jason, for reminding us. All right. With that, we'll wrap this up for this month, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again next month in February. Until then, stay safe. Take care.